Welcome to episode 24 of the Bikini Besties podcast. I'm Lo.
Kaylia.
Stephanie.
And today's episode 24 is the Besties are reading Bret Contreras Glute Lab. So as you can see, we've got a massive book here, Bret Contreras' Glute Lab. But before we dive into the reading we've been doing, I feel like it's like a little book club, but
Yeah, a glute book club.
And studying the sport.
Yeah,
as we've said in some of our previous episodes.
Trying to grow bikini glutes over here.
Before we dive into that, as always, we'll get into our updates.
Oh, I can start.
Yeah.
So I am on week 6 of prep. Week 6. So I started very first week of July. So everything has been going well. We are now like officially kind of I feel like my cardio was raised. My food stayed the same. My cardio was raised. So I feel like I'm like in prep now.
Yeah.
Because now I am at 90 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So we are chugging. So I usually get done 45 minutes to 60 minutes in the morning. And then I feel good because when you have that like looming 90 minutes all through the day, it just doesn't. It doesn't feel good at
can't
all.
Do that. You have
right?
to do some in the morning.
Yeah, so I usually get 45 to 60 minutes done in the morning and then 45, 30 either over my lunch break, which is always fun. But I always feel like I'm using the time because I can't just sit there for an hour. I literally eat in 10 minutes and then I'm like, okay, I can just walk. I can do whatever. Cody usually calls me out after if he's at the gym and sees me, he's like, are you in the shower? I'm like, no. No, I'm not.
Straight back to work.
I'm like, I have all my things. I have like this air spray thing. I have a whole thing so that
She's like, I don't smell.
Right, exactly. Huh? It does count because I showered in the morning. Okay, it does count. But no. So cardio's been raised. My posing has been my biggest feedback in terms of just stage presence and everything. And so I finally got the 5 stars from Angeline. So I'm so happy. So now it's just fine tuning things, which feels like a kind of like a weight has been lifted. Like, okay, I'm like making strides. Like we're like, I don't know, halfway there. If she's listening, she's probably like, they're not halfway there, but but pretty like halfway there. Like we're just adding the little things. So I feel like I'm like it's going right.
Chipping away.
Yeah. And so I had 3 trips over this prep. So I had a bachelorette at the beginning of August, which was really good. So I got through that. So I'm using that as like my motivation to get through my first wedding, which is second week of September, and then the hardest one is the last week of September. Beginning of October is my Italy wedding, so we shall see. It will be good.
It'll all be good,
right? I know. I'm like, okay, I'll be super locked in at that point, so hopefully I'll just be kind of.
And you're getting ahead of it this prep. Like you're not pushing at the end; you're pushing now.
Yes, exactly.
And like the comparison photo that you just put on your story of like 4 weeks difference. It's so visually different,
right? And like it's only like a pound different because I was around 149, and then this check-in I had a little bit of a flex up, but what I was super proud of is that like my whole day was not ruined. Like usually I'm like, oh my god, this check-in sucks, blah 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 blah, but I was able to kind of separate myself from the number on the scale and actually look at the photos even from like my last check-in, and I'm like, no, I'm definitely tighter. That's just a number. It's fine. And so then I felt like that was a win.
So like using your skills from your last prep where you went off of visuals.
Exactly. And so I'm like, okay, if this had been the last prep, I would not have been upset about this at all because I would not have known the number.
Right.
Yeah. So now I'm like, okay.
Oh, I love that.
That's cool. So it's like,
good.
So now I'm seeing kind of the benefits of doing prep without a scale because now I feel a little bit more level-headed and just, just cruising. So we're doing the things, all the things, checking the boxes.
Yeah. Well, I was impressed by the visual changes of 4 weeks. Like literally, like you can tell. Like,
that I've
prep
been,
is happening.
Doing the cardio. Doing the cardio.
She's doing her cardio.
What about you, Kaylia?
Oh.
Yeah, what's your update?
Just sit. I don't have much. I'm gonna be boring for like 3 more months. Just eating. No, I'm finally. We're. Am I 13 or 14 weeks post show? I don't know, 13 or 14, and we're just. I'm just eating. I'm just eating.
No, terribly
I'm like
eating.
calories at. What are your calories at?
2280, so we're almost at 23.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that's a good spot. They increased last time. I think my weight is I think I'm 9 pounds. Yeah, 9 pounds. 129.
It's a good weight.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
129. So I just wanted to make sure I stayed the amount of pounds, the amount of weeks ahead, less pounds than the amount of weeks ahead or weeks post show or whatever. Because you want the weight to eventually slow down, when gaining throughout. Because if initially it was kind of a pound a week for the first 6 weeks, I feel like. But that's inevitable because you're just so lean. Your body wants to, and we were increasing food every week. And then it kind of at that 6 week mark, it kind of stopped, and then I held weight for a month, and then it gained again, and then held that for a month. So, so just little
really
increases. I'm finally at the point where I'm kind of full, I'm eating. I'm not thinking
this again.
I'm not thinking about my food, my neck. I think about breakfast. My first meal is my favorite meal of all time.
You still doing mini waffles?
No. I swear I did that for a while. I'm now doing 3 caramel rice cakes with peanut butter and tons of salt on it. And then
Yum.
300 grams of potatoes, air fried potatoes.
Oh my gosh.
I make this skillet, eggs, spinach, peppers, and onions.
Yes, I saw that.
And then air fried potatoes. It's 600 calorie meal that is the greatest thing of all time.
Oh my God.
And so that I'm excited for. I eat it, and then I don't care for the rest of the day. I'm I gotta make food. So I'm getting to that point. And right now I just had meal 3, and I was eating it so slow, and then I'm I have to eat one more time and have a creamy.
Oh
And
my
that's so I'm starting to get there.
Yes. I remember this, Kaylia.
I know. Remember this.
I don't know if I've ever been there.
No,
I know idea what I'm talking about.
right?
I can eat for days. I can always eat.
Well, now that I'm feeling like this, I'm okay, maybe it's time to change up the menu. I need less volume of food. I need to stop putting shredded lettuce in my taco bowl. I have enough rice in there that it doesn't need shredded lettuce.
Right.
So things that fill up your stomach. Maybe I can lessen some of the vegetables. Just change up some things so I don't feel as full. So I probably need to do that soon because I'm starting to get full. And I think we'll probably increase food a couple more times. We kind of want to try to sit here here between here and 2 more pounds maybe over the next 3 months if we can be really just structured and good and then start prep mid-November. So that's the tentative start date. We'll see where the body is and the weight is, see if we need to start sooner or if we can wait and even start later, because I did say I was whatever we can do that I can stay in a growing phase for as long as possible, but still be conditioned in time for the show I'm planning for next year, because I don't want a warm-up show. I don't want a warm-up physique. I want a pro card physique at the first show I do next year, because there's I don't need a warm-up. I don't need a warm-up show. So I just want to be ready. So I will start prep whenever I need to in order for that to happen. But
awesome.
just lifting. I'm been reading the glute book that we're going to talk about, and so just being really intentional with training. I've got lots of energy in the gym, just really focusing on using my glutes, slow and controlled, and squeezing and contracting and counting. And
Have you had any more free meals?
I had 2 weeks ago, a week ago. When did I have the Del Taco donuts?
Yeah, you talked about it last. You talked about it last.
So
podcast.
I had those donuts.
Have you had anything since?
And then I had after that. Why do I feel like I did have something, but now I can't remember what it was?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It's the pizza.
Oh, the pizza.
Ooh, pizza.
I made this pizza that was in my freezer. Okay, no, it wasn't even. No, don't even. It wasn't even good.
Really?
Was it not worth it?
It was this crappy pizza,
DiGiorno.
and I wanted. It looked so good,
On the box?
so I made it. And it was like a pepperoni pizza, and I just ate. I cut a slice. I took a bite of the slice like a normal way, and I was like, no, I am not wasting. Nope. And then I ate the crust of 2 slices because I like the crust because it was crunchy and bread and whatever. So I ate the crust of 2 pieces, and I threw it away.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So
God.
that was
if it's not worth the calories,
Yeah.
or if it's not that enjoyable, it's you'd rather stick to your routine.
I have a donut thing for you. When I went to Coa del Mar or whatever, they have I have a picture of it, but they have like little mini donut things that come with 2 coffees. I don't drink coffee, so
Oh my God, I
we
love
got
coffee
it,
and donuts.
But it
That
was
would
like
be so
crunchy on
good.
this outside and it was
Oh.
hot.
Can we all go
We
on like
have
a
to go
girl
there.
date there?
Yeah,
like
we have to go there because Zach ate them all in front of me, and it was like, yeah. He said they were good. He said it was like,
Can I come
it's
on your
less
guys'
cakey.
dates?
Yeah.
And then I will just.
I know. I'm the cheapest date ever. Zach loves taking me out in prep because I'm literally like,
Like,
okay, so
nah.
$10 for me.
you're like, I just want to eat this little piece of fish.
Right? But it's a really nice restaurant. I think we should go there.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay,
I wanna
yes,
go
I want to
so
do
bad.
that.
I
I
meant to
love.
ask you about that.
Yeah, because I missed out on the Parmesan truffle fries.
Oh,
I always tell Zach what I would order if I wasn't in prep,
Yes.
and then I order my like fish or my shrimp cocktail.
This is what I would get. This is what I want you to get.
Right?
Just kidding, don't get
We have
it.
to
But
talk about it for a minute. Like,
Don't
Yeah.
get it.
just let me try to
because
imagine that
Yeah.
I am getting this, but I'm not.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
amount of menus that I have read and like pictured the food and not gone to the restaurant at all.
Just
is
pick-
ridiculous.
Envisioned it.
I like
That's
looked
funny.
at all the pictures on Yelp. And
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
But I look at the menu. I like reading what's the ingredients are.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have to read the yes. Mhm.
Read what
I
what it is.
believe that restaurant menus should be required to have pictures. I
Yes.
hate
Oh, yeah.
that you have to just read and imagine what this looks like or how much it is.
no.
Like,
No. But then it also
Ish.
takes away from the experience because then I think about like Applebee's or like things like I don't
no,
know.
I need
like
to
chi-
see
like
it. I need to
Chili's,
see
like,
how
they've
much
got-
I'm getting. Like, am I
Yeah,
only
yeah.
getting this
And it's,
much?
like,
Or am I
plastic.
getting.
Nah.
Yeah. How big is this?
Right.
I need
It
to
needs to
know.
have weights. It's
I
like,
need to know
it's
if I
like
need-
7 ounces of pasta.
Or like that would be cool if they had the macros on it.
Yeah,
That would
there
be
you go.
interesting.
Yeah,
That'd be-
some restaurants do, but it's mostly
Right.
chains. It's
mostly
never like the
calories.
night.
Never
Yeah,
fine
it's not like
dining.
yeah.
But they always surprise me. Like some of the meals, I'm like 1,800 calories. No way! Like
Yeah.
that is blows
Look
my
at
mind.
like a
Most
Cheesecake
entrees-
Factory salad.
Yes.
They have the calories on there, and it's like 2,000 calories
Yep.
for a Cobb salad, and you're like, what
Get
kind
you-
of
I think
cheesecake
cheesecake-
dressing are you using?
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's wild.
That
I never
is
use the dressing at
insane.
restaurants though. Never.
No, that's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah, look at our prep hacks episode for dressing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
all the dressing ideas.
Right?
All right, well,
Yes.
your update.
Woo! Okay,
Yours is the
big
exciting
update
one.
for me. So on last episode, I talked about Texas Pro, and let y'all know that I was in peak week for Nashville Fit Show, and you can see I'm still very orange, and I have showered multiple times, and it's just like stained.
It's just part of her.
It's your
I
new
am
tone.
orange now.
Just part of her.
But it was only 2 days ago, so
You have time.
I got top 3 at Nashville Fit Show.
Yes, which was the goal.
Yes.
The goal has been achieved.
So
I
I'm
spoke it into existence.
Right?
I'm very big on like mini goals. Like ultimately, like I mean, it almost even feels surreal to say it. My goal is to qualify for the Olympia. I really want to do that as a pro. But I never felt like I could like say that was my goal because I felt like there was goals I needed to achieve before that.
Mhm.
And so last season, my goal was to get a top 5. Well, I wanted a first call out and I got that at the first show that I went to. And then I wanted a top 5 and then I got that at Clash last year. And then this year we started my season with a top 5 and I was like, okay, I need a top 3 or a win. And I said that last episode and we made it happen.
Fucking did it.
Right?
It was a great experience, beautiful show. It was run really well. If you don't know what Nashville Fit Show is, it's an all-female show, and it just has bikini pro division and a master's bikini pro division, and then just all-female NPC. So backstage is just a bunch of girls all in their suits and it's beautiful, all female judging panel, all female expediter staff. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
And
The only female they don't have is the MC.
there was a female MC.
It was a guy.
Was it?
Oh, really?
There was.
At finals,
Maybe
there
it's-
was a girl talking because she was.
I heard a. Maybe it's the commentator.
maybe
Maybe
a
it was a
commentator,
Commentator on the
stream.
live stream. Okay, never mind. That's a
Yeah.
different thing.
Because there was definitely a woman MC
Oh.
on stage.
I thought maybe that was the MC. Just kidding. Ignore me. Ignore me.
And then also like the photographers, like it was Gilco Productions, were not women, obviously. But I mean, so there was other people there helping too.
Yeah.
Part of like NPC Tennessee and stuff like that. So really, really great team, great venue. Highly recommend the show if you're doing bikini and want to travel, because Nashville's really super fun and cool too.
Is it just a pro show, or do they have NPC?
NPC women.
Oh.
So all the women's divisions in NPC, and they have like a hero class. And the cool thing is like, and then even afterwards, the top 6 pros and the overall winners for wellness, bikini, and the like bikini hero champion, and I think someone else, any of the overall winners were also invited to do a photo shoot afterwards too. So it was really cool. We got to hang out with all the NPC overall winners.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then Gilco Productions also did a posing award for bikini, which was super cool. And so he had the prize money go straight to the athletes, which is really neat. Lana Dunbar won it. So congrats, Lana. She's a beautiful poser. So it was really fun to see that. And I think it's really cool to see things like that in the sport, because I think it just like encourages more than just like the win, but it's also like your presentation and bringing it on the stage, just more to it. So I thought that was a really neat part of the show. And then my coach was there, and my team was, and I had a couple teammates. So that was kind of a fun experience because we all got to hang out. My team did very well. So I got 3rd, and then teammate got 5th and 9th in open, and won both the Masters Pro shows.
That's awesome.
So super, super neat. So, and then I got judges' feedback from Becky. Becky was the head judge. She follows our podcast too. Thanks, Becky. If you listen to this, I don't know if you listen to it, but I really, really appreciated the feedback. She said I had an excellent front pose. Definitely held my own against the others in the top 3 with that. And she really liked my structure overall. And my conditioning, she said, was on point. It seems that the judges kind of like me a little bit harder than some of the other girls. I think just with the amount of muscle I have, it looks really good on me. But my biggest improvement in feedback, she said, is I need a little bit fuller glutes. And with a little bit fuller glutes, that could potentially be a little bit more filling out, or it could mean a little bit more development. So we're going to kind of play with that, of course. Just keep training glutes really hard and study the Glute Lab so we can get that done. So good episode for this today, because I need this now.
Yes.
But maybe even just a slight bit more filling out. We're just working on a balance with me and my coach, figuring out like keeping the waist tight, keeping the conditioning on point, but also being full. I ate like 400 carbs the day before.
Oh my!
You topped the last one though.
Yeah,
like
it was 375 at Texas the one day out, and then 400 one day out here. Nice. And we played with it. We didn't just go for the 400. Like he my coach thought it was going to be 350. And then we were checking in throughout the day, and he's like, no, hold back. Have a smaller meal. We're only going to do 300 today. And then I went to check-ins, and I was up on walking and on my feet, and I came back and I was like 2 pounds lighter and looked way tighter. And he's like, oh wait, you got to eat.
It's just like ping pongs.
Yeah. So it was kind of like a balance of like, that's been a really cool experience. It's like checking in after every time I eat, and like with my weight and pictures and video. So it was very detailed, and checking in person. Like my coach even came to our little Airbnb, and like we worked on my routine and my front pose, and like it was very hands-on. So I felt like very, very prepared going into the show. Like I knew we were peaking right. I knew that I had made improvements from Texas, because the goal is always to get better. So just keep improving. So I'm very happy with our performance and how everything went. And I'm happy with how my body's responding afterwards too. Afterwards, I went and had a big burger. That just went down too easily. Every single fry on my plate. I didn't hold back this time on the fries, you guys.
Good. Thank goodness.
They were really
do it for
good
Steph,
fries.
right?
Exactly.
We went to a burger place that had tons of types, so I was like, I can't just get a plain burger. I have to get some specialty
fancy one.
Yeah.
So I got one with goat cheese on it.
Thank you for doing that for me.
Yeah.
I got one with goat cheese, and I love goat cheese, but it was a lot of goat cheese. I kind of think I would have liked maybe more like an egg or something on it instead. But It was still really, really good, you guys. It was huge. And then afterwards we walked and got ice cream. And I got like a little sampler. Yeah, it's just easy afterwards, like when you're out walking. Like,
it is
to go to an
guess,
ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Mine's donuts and cookies.
I was about to say.
But I can't find like there's not a donut shop open at 11
I know.
PM.
Doesn't that make you mad?
Right?
And like fresh donuts.
I was like,
get
true.
really, you can tell. I get really upset about it.
I was like, if we had been at like a different restaurant, maybe I really like want to just like order like a piece of cheesecake. It's kind of what I wanted, but we didn't do that. But I woke up the next morning at kind of like my stage weight, not my fasted morning weight of stage day because I dropped weight
But
overnight.
your, like, fill out weight.
But my fill out weight, I was like, I woke up at that, which is really cool.
Good.
That's kind of like
really good.
where I needed to be. And then when I got home last night, I had not gained any weight at all throughout the day. And I had a breakfast sandwich in Nashville before we left. We went on the photo shoot. I ate so much fruit and I ate yogurt and granola.
Yeah.
And I had half a banana nut muffin and I had milk in my like coffee and
Nice.
I had a piece of chocolate and I had a protein bar on the plane. And so I was just like eating intuitively. And I never felt like full throughout the day. I just kind of like had a little bits and I ate some protein and chicken and stuff on the plane too. And got home really late at night. And then this morning I woke up back down at 119 pounds, which is like
Your body's responding so
less
well.
than my fasted weight normally.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, okay. I've never had this experience waking up like the Monday morning after a show with eating intuitively and having a free meal
Yeah.
and weighing less.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly happy with that. So that means my macros are at a pretty good amount for this today. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
They're going to be adjusted throughout the week still. And my cardio is at only 35 minutes, which is really nice.
That's got to feel nice.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm feeling a little more recovered from, having my cardio be a little lower. So that's where we are. I'm not done competing. I don't know what show I'm doing yet, but I don't want to do another back-to-back peak week, so we're going to do a couple weeks.
A little break.
So I'll have an update by next podcast on what I'm going to be doing next. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yay.
that's it.
We can't wait.
That's awesome. Yes.
That's so exciting. We're so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
That's such
So
a
proud.
big achievement.
Such a big accomplishment.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's so cool. So, and it's so cool to watch.
We were dialed into the live
Yeah.
stream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I was.
Yeah, it was. I still feels a little surreal. Like I'm really, really proud of the.
Like, I know her.
performance, and I'm
Yes,
like,
exactly,
I do a podcast with her.
right?
I was like, that's
I know,
me.
she's my bestie.
Yeah. So, and I just am really, really grateful for all the support from friends and people have reached out to me. It means a lot because I think people appreciate how hard we work for this sport, and so thank you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been. I'm almost like feel like a little bit like, oh my gosh, there's just too much attention on me here right now. but I do recognize taking a moment to be proud of the accomplishment.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
not done yet. We can officially do the
More
next
to
goal.
come.
Next goal.
To be determined. To be continued, I mean.
Yes.
Back to work. All right. So that brings us to the actual topic of today, which is the Glute Lab book by Bret Contreras. I think I don't know when you guys got your copies, but you got.
Yours was a birthday present.
Yeah,
And then I liked it
Kaylia
so
and
much.
we
I was like,
copied you and wanted one.
Yeah, they
It's my
got this
birthday
for me
too.
for my birthday, and then they all got one, and we decided to do kind of like, almost like
A little book club.
book club style, Besties book club.
Bestie glute building book club.
yes.
Because like we do study this sport a lot, and it's something that's really important. Like, and glutes are like essential,
Really important.
for
Essential.
for bikini.
Yes.
So this has kind of been something cool, and I think it's really interesting to
Well,
learn
they also
more
say
about.
bikinis won from the back. I've heard people say that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a
People say
lot
that.
of bodybuilding is.
Yeah.
The bodybuilding period.
Yeah. And so we just read parts 1 and 2 of the book.
The importance of glute training and the science of strength and physique training.
And you can find the book on Amazon. I think you can also order it directly from his website.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
He's got like links on his
Yeah.
Instagram and stuff.
And so I think we just kind of wanted to go over kind of some of the things that we thought were the most interesting, and kind of how we thought it kind of applied to how we feel about it,
Yeah.
and how applies to our own training or training we want to do.
Our own physiques too. Like, so for me, that's so like, if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know I'm trying to build glutes over here.
Like this
To hang
the
with these
quest
guys.
to attain glutes.
Right? The quest. That's literally, yes.
What does it say?
The quest to attain glutes.
Yes. Yep. That's the story of my life. But I've like always had these like theories and thoughts and experiences of like, you know, why I don't feel this in my glutes or why I do or why my glutes won't grow or whatever. And so this book, so far, I mean, we're only a couple sections in, but so far it's just kind of reassured like some of my thoughts and things in my experiences, and I'm like, oh, that's why. And so then I'm kind of like, and I'll get into some of that, but like that's kind of, I'm taking that kind of into my training now. So and also there's like a line in the book, I don't know where it is, what he says, but it's something about like the more you think about your glutes, like especially when you train them, like mind muscle connection too, but the more you like think about like training your glutes, like the better like lifter you will be and the more success you will have at growing your glutes. And so reading this book is literally just me just trying to take in all of the glute information so that it will then go down into my glutes and grow.
Yes.
It's like where your energy goes,
Yes.
the energy flows.
Yes.
Yeah.
To the glutes.
Yeah, and even like the first chapter the first part is literally called the importance of glute training. And so it's kind of cool how he goes into like science of even not just like, it's not even about like the size of your glutes, but just like the strength and how it helps like other areas of lifting for you too, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, he talks
just as an athlete in general.
And he talks about like, so when I think back to when I first started bodybuilding, sorry, I just thought of a picture I saw from when I first started 2017 of my butt. And I checked in, and and my first check in, and I had like you guys. I had like my back, like no, it went back to hamstring. Like there was a straight line. I was like a board. Like I could just stand against the wall and everything would touch.
You have to send this picture to Cody to put
I've
on
got
there.
I always had weak, like, so he talks about in here, like if you have weak glutes, like your quads and hamstrings will take over. Well, I have really nice, I would say nice legs. I've got nice quads and hamstrings. I've got hamstrings.
Yeah.
And I like don't even actually really like train them. But it's because like my glutes were weak and everything else takes over. So he like explains stuff like that. But he also talks about how like, so I have some back issues and I have really just set like a lot of back tightness and I'll get injured really easily in my low back. And so my erectors are very developed. And so everything around the glutes is developed, but not my glutes. And so, it fits like my struggles, and then he like explains know why and then what you can do about it and like how to navigate that. And so basically, for someone who like me, I need to focus on, for my certain physique, I need to focus specifically on glute only exercises. However, there's not a single exercise, and he talks about this, that is glutes only. It will touch other, like even a kickback will activate some hamstring and some other muscle groups. So it's wrong to say that there's an exercise that only touches the glutes, but there are ones that are more specific, like a hip thrust, more focused. Yeah. Kickbacks, hip thrust, glute bridges, those kind of exercises are more on the glute focused list rather than squats, deadlifts, things like that. And so he says like, if you are trying to really just target the glutes, then stick to some more of those, prioritize those, and not squats and like deadlifts and things, or have a certain blend. But
that's more like primarily focused on those. No, absolutely.
Yeah, he does talk about the importance of variety in training. I think I even flagged it. He talks about the variety, because I know I was doing this. Having a variety in your training will help, even if you're doing just more glute specific exercises. If that one targets a little bit more of, let's say, hamstring, but then this other glute specific exercises targets a little bit more of quad. You're going to get a little bit more balance between it, even though you're doing mostly glutes.
Yeah.
You're going to still work just small amounts of
Right.
different areas. And then he even he does recommend still having some of the larger compound lifts and doing those heavier, but with less volume.
Yes.
And then doing more volume and more mind muscle connection with the accessory and specific, more like isolated movements.
Right.
And so it's kind of cool how he's like you need a combination of those is going to be more of a recipe, but the percentage of like how with the combination is person specific.
Yeah.
It's not, there's not a magic recipe of like, oh, you need 50% this and 50% that. It's going to be a variety depending on how you develop it.
Yeah.
Which is
and
kinda
sometimes
cool.
you have to test and try it. You don't really know. He talks about like
Experiment.
yes, you got to experiment and then pull back or add in. And I think even what's going to be cool about this book in the next few sections is he gets into like how to write programming, like how to structure programming. And so I think that's going to be super into like sets and rep schemes and exercise selection. And that will be cool. I'm excited for that part because that's going to be, I actually kind of skipped ahead a little bit because I was so excited.
You're like, I want to see what the exercises
I'm like, I'm going to
are.
prove the season here. Only a few more months. But
it's much more applicable kind of to exactly what we're doing. But no, these first chapters kind of lay the groundwork for everything. And so I definitely learned a lot about like the genetic portion of your, and I always say this word wrong. Some people say skeletal, some people say skeletal. But
I say
anyway,
skeletal.
I say skeletal,
Okay, I'll say skeletal.
People say
But like
skeletal?
Yeah, that's a thing. It's a thing. It might be Canadian. I don't know. Don't come after me. But yeah, just how you were born and how you are. So I think we talked about the sacral. Was it sacral slope?
Yeah, the degree of the sacral slope.
Right. And then just the appearance of how it makes your glutes look, and so.
Like it doesn't even matter. Like, so he talks about like people who have like how much your glute projects off of your body. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. And so which there's two things. There's, if you have two girls, like one may have more muscle development, but if they had the same exact muscle development and one had and then these two different sacral slopes, her glute projection is going to look bigger more than the other because of the sacral slope.
The one that has the larger sacral slope, so it's almost like their back is like, I can't even do my hand like that, but it's like this almost, so like your back to your glute.
Yes.
And so that kind of slope or this arch in here, if it's larger.
Yeah, it's literally the angle that the bone attaches.
Yeah. Yes. There's nothing you can do.
It's not even if it's bigger or larger, it's an angle that the bone attaches.
So my little flat butt right there at the top.
Right.
It's because my dang sacral slope.
Right. You should tell the judges that next time. You know what? It's just my sacral slope.
It's genetics. I can't.
And then like even with that, like you can go down to glute shape. Can change completely on like where your femurs connect into like your
sacrum.
No, the where is it?
Ilium.
Yeah,
there was a lot of big words. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
we're not trying to say we're no experts over here. We're just
it says ilium bones right here.
And our experiences and what we're taking from the book.
Yeah, we're studying this because it's just like really like it's not just like.
Well, my thing was like he talks a lot about, he puts a really big emphasis on like your genetics are number one. How genetics down to, like I just actually kind of read through it again today, was something about the cells that grow your muscle. That's genetics. Like some people have more cells that surround whatever. I can't. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. The amount of fibers. Yes. Some people have more fast twitch fibers and some people have more slow twitch fibers. And so different types of movement will engage those different types of fibers more or less.
Like we could be I would say low gains muscle more than I do. And we could have the same food, same training, but like we have different genetics.
But I think you could be stronger than me.
Yes.
too.
And I'm stronger strong.
Like
So
you can Roger squat a lot more than I can.
So that's one thing he talks about too, is some people, based on it's their genetics, is that they can be strong but not grow muscle as well, or you can grow muscle and not be as strong. I'm a strong but can't, I can't grow muscle as well in my glutes. I feel like I do grow muscle decent in my upper body, but nothing like spectacular. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say my body is someone that is like, whoa, she grows muscle well. Like I'm a pretty average, I feel like. Maybe I follow the plan. I do what I need to do. I'm not someone who's like special in growing muscle, but my glutes are under special. like below average.
But what this book really, I think, helps with is just understanding. Like understanding what it can come from. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what he talks about. Something is like, is the understanding, and once you understand it, accept it, and then find like other stuff to focus. Like, I could sit here and throw a pity party that like my glutes are never going to be shaped like Steph's. My glutes are never going to, you know what I mean? Like I could sit here and like whine about it, or I could just like, I could study this. I can learn what I can, apply it to my training, have fun with my training, do the absolute best I can. And no matter what, I will improve.
Yes.
It just, I'm just not going to have like this certain,
You just can't compare. And it's kind of cool because I think it's kind of fun, or what I think is going to be fun at the end of this is kind of finding my own recipe. And like taking all the little things I learned and then thinking about the judges' feedback. So mine, I think 2 shows ago, was my upper glutes and building my upper glutes. So I really focused on when he was talking about upper glutes and how to like hit those. One thing I thought was interesting is I think there's 3 glute muscles and how you can't really isolate the smaller 2.
I didn't know that.
And what I thought was cool was that the glute max is, I think, almost, did you say 2/3 of the size of I wrote it down somewhere. I think it was it was huge in comparison to the other. Glute max is twice the size of the minimus and medius combined.
Oh, wow.
Right?
It is majority of your glute.
Yeah.
And he did talk about how like you can't isolate one of the 3 glute muscles, and so he refers to it as just the glutes,
right?
And so it's more about like
he refers to it as upper and lower.
Yes,
upper and lower, but he doesn't really focus on
minimus versus, because I think the minimus is underneath, so there's hardly any way of,
because he does say that like abduction does focus more on the upper, but upper still means the glute max. Like there's still and
the medius, but some of the max that wraps around.
And then like squats and a RDL are gonna definitely hit more of that lower. But they are still gonna hit some upper. It's just not gonna be as high of a percentage as it is the lower.
And he talks about it because there's so many insertion points. Like the glute muscle wraps around and connects to so much tendon that wraps around down to different bones, and there's just so many connection points that every movement you do, it's gonna affect all 3 muscles. So it's kind of cool how he like describes it, and it gets really sciencey and like
very sciencey,
diving into the shape of it and the way the directions of the fibers go, which is kind of very deep. But
I was like, la, 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 la,
I was like, I'm gonna skim through a little bit of that part, but I think understanding just the way that it works really, really helps. Like when you're considering targeting something specific, being like, it's not like, I need my glute medius to grow. It's no, I need this upper area to grow by engaging all of this with
which exercise you like highlight more or do maybe a little bit more often throughout your workout. And then also he talks a lot about engagement and how much it matters, that mind muscle connection, and really breaking it down to some isolating movements before you kind of work your way up to the more combo movements, so that you could feel it like in a hip thrust versus like a kickback and so on and so forth. But what were some things that what surprised you guys, I guess? Was there anything that really surprised you that was like, I didn't know that?
I think stuff like I have a line highlighted here that says, he's like, some trainers will tell you that you need to squat deep to get the best result, and that your poor mobility is the limiting factor. And I've been told that a lot. Like I've been told that like I need to, like, this is how to do the exercise, but I don't feel it. Like I don't. and he talks about how like it's in fact like it's up to your bone anatomy, so like how you're structured. And so just because like maybe most people squat that way, but you may not be able to squat that way.
Right.
And so like stuff like that, it was like, okay, so I don't need, because I would like stress out about it. I'd be like, okay, people are saying I'm doing this wrong.
Right.
But like, or doing it, I'm trying to do it how they're telling me to do it, but I don't feel this. Like I feel it everywhere else, or whatever.
Yeah. Or you physically can't in some ways.
And so then, but then if I do like whatever the exercise is, squat, dead, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like in a way where I do feel it, it is a little different than and so I'm kind of, and I've always been like stressed about it. I've always been like, oh my God, that's why I can't glutes, because I can't figure it out. Like I can't do it like they're saying to do it.
I agree, because like I read that same section of that picture here. I'm a very much a short torso, long leg person. And I used to remember like when I first started training, I squatted often, like just barbell, like squats, and I would videotape myself and I would post it, and I hated posting it because I was so self-conscious, because I felt like people
would judge
that I wasn't doing it correctly. But I was doing it where I felt my glutes. And then I would post the video and they're like, no, you're doing it really wrong. And like people would really come for me on my squat form. So I got really self-conscious, and I actually stopped doing squats for a while, and I like switched to just leg press and like some hack squats, because I just didn't want to be wrong about it. But like
it's like you're self-conscious about it. And
I'm
now
like,
reading
the
this
forward
book,
lean squat hits my glutes so much more, and it makes sense because I have a short torso and long legs.
And so reading this, I kind of, honestly, I've like, okay, I'm going to stop being stressed. Like, I'm going to take that stress off my plate.
You've accepted it, just like you said.
And I'm just going to focus on the feeling. Like, if I feel my glute, then I feel like that's what matters. And then progressively overload from there. Like,
in
constant. Like, that way. And, like, keep that way consistent. And, like, that's what he talks about, too, is, like, to progressively overload, you need to be consistent at that lift, that type of lift, that variation.
In that form.
Yes, that form.
And he talks about like people say, it's just my genetics that I can't grow. And he's like, no, it's that you don't understand your genetics and doing the right exercise for your genetics. And so I think that's what I'm excited to study more about this, because it's like, oh, so it's not my genetics that are preventing, it's that I'm not working with them with the correct
That's huge.
form
Working with them
for my body type, because we all have such different body types, and you see it so much in bikini. Like you see, like you'll see even like a whole first call out of top pros, they all have such different body types, but they're all growing their glutes. They're not all doing the exact same form. They have doing what's best for their body type,
or the exact same exercises, the frequency, or all those things.
Like you put up those single leg RDL thing or good mornings, and like, and I've seen them on Instagram for a while now on like the V squat thing or whatever that is called. And so I finally, like, I think after I saw you do them, because I've seen like millions of people do them now, I was like, okay, I'm going to try these. But normally I don't do good mornings because my back takes, it's usually not a exercise for me. But I tried it and I love it.
Favorite.
But I can't do it. Like I see everyone taps their foot. Like everyone puts their foot on the floor. If I let my foot touch the floor, my erectors take over. My back and my hips immediately it's something out of alignment. It makes it out of alignment somehow. So I have to like keep my leg lifted and in the air. And like
it helps good. But you like them though?
But that's I love it. But that's an example of like, I'm not doing it like everyone else is, but I feel
so it's like how it's best.
So it's
for
like
your
self-conscious.
Body
it's like this like thing. I'm like, oh, I don't want to like.
Am I doing it
wrong? Just in case.
But like that's how I felt it in my glutes. Back didn't take over. Hamstrings weren't taken over. Just the glute. I could feel like my focus is like really using my feet, and gripping with the inside of my foot for my glute activation. I was able to do that the whole time. So yeah, it's like I'm just trying to like. No, I'm just going to do me in the gym. And that's just what matters.
Seriously. And you're working with your genetics. And really that should be our answer to everyone. It's like, this is what's good for me and my genetics and how my body is shaped. Because unless you know all these things about my body, you can't really tell me that my form is not like adequate or, you know.
And we're the ones like in us, like we're the ones that I'm the one that feels my glutes.
Right.
Like, you know
exactly.
what I mean? Like
exactly.
We're the one, I don't know.
Exactly.
And there definitely has been lots of tips and information I've gotten from people that have helped, that I have used in my training, that has helped my form. I'm not saying there's been more good than not, but it has been a constant in my training of like,
but just knowing to be curious. That's really the thing, to be curious is like, if something just doesn't quite make sense, you know, questioning it doesn't mean you're saying that that person's wrong. It's really just diving in to make sure that, you know, you're
why
engaged.
am I not
exactly?
like,
yeah,
why,
exactly. Yeah.
I really liked the pyramid that.
Oh yeah, let's
was
go to
in
that
here.
page.
I had it flagged.
92.
Yeah, page 92. Mechanisms of hypertrophy pyramid. He talks about a combination of like the three things that cause the most hypertrophy, which is metabolic stress, muscle damage, and mechanical tension. But it's really cool on the triangle. Mechanical tension is the most.
Biggest.
And I think a lot of times people talk about like when they're doing muscle growth, they're like, oh, I got to tear it down and do muscle damage. And he talks about that's just a small part of it. Compared to like the mechanical tension, you hear more about like progressive overload being way more productive and mind muscle connection equally. Which is I thought was, I like, for me that was really interesting because it's like that really applies to the way I like training because like I've always been like, people are like only to failure and you must just like go until it hurts.
That has been my training style. What you're describing, that's what has been beaten into my head for like years.
Yeah,
and
I'm
now
like,
I'm trying to break those habits and patterns and switch to more of what
I used to be like, am I not doing it right because I'm not going until it just like destroys my muscle. I'm like, no, I'm going until almost there, or I'm doing it so that I'm getting to a specific like feeling. I'm still pushing myself and I'm still lifting really intense and I'm still making it hard. But I'm like, this makes me feel a little bit validated.
Validated is like the good.
Because usually when you train to failure, like those last 3 to 5 reps are ugly. And so to me, I would think that the reason that failure might not work for this sort of development is because you would lose engagement, because I would just be so concerned of getting the weight up.
And he says the last 5 reps of a set is where muscle growth happens. That's where what matters. So whether you're doing, he talks about like whether you're doing 10, 15, or 5, like the 5 reps at the end are what matter. And so if you're losing that money, the connection, that engagement, that activation,
but it's only the 5 where you're engaged.
The last 5.
No, absolutely. So he talks about how metabolic stress and muscle damage are kind of the least important, and that would include like feeling the burn, getting a pump, higher reps, shorter rest periods. I
mean, they're still important and still, I think, something that like is a good tool to utilize.
But
it's not as important as like mind muscle connection.
And progressive overload.
And moving up in your, because it's still like he does, even like in the very first chapter, he talks about strength being incredibly important. It's the tiny but mighty method.
Yes.
I thought that was kind of cute. So it's like, that's why, again, like where I was saying, like I really realize they feel like the overall of this, he talks about a lot about variety.
He talks about something as a lifter that I always struggled with is rushing through reps, because I was focused on just getting the reps done. I was the lifter that like just get the reps in, check, right? And I wasn't tuned into the muscle I was working. I wasn't like thinking. He talks about the difference between power lifter and a bodybuilder. Power lifters, they can't think about the muscle that they're lifting. They think their minds need to go elsewhere because they can just focus on getting the weight up. So like they'll listen, like what was he saying? It's where a bodybuilder is literally like zones out and is zones in just to the muscle that they're lifting. Specific muscle. They're not thinking about anything else. They're just that muscle. And so I now do that. I never used to do that. I now do that. I now just think about like, for example, even delts though. When I'm lifting delts, I'm just like literally thinking about the delt and envisioning it and like lifting with the delt. So and then I used to like just rush through reps, right? And so he talks about how like if the contraction is too fast, then it doesn't have enough time under that like
time under tension.
So now I'm like I've changed my lifting to be like more slow. And then when I get to like a hip thrust, like the top, like squeeze and hold and using pauses. Cause like that's also progressive overload. It's not just how much weight.
Yes,
That's what actually
huge.
I really liked that he like listed, he bullet pointed, a bunch of ways that you can progressively overload without just adding weight.
Yes.
It could be adding reps. It could be adding sets. It could be adding resistance. It could be adding or different resistance.
Tempo.
Tempo. It
holds.
could be pauses. Yes. Holds.
Yeah.
It could be, there's like 10 or 12 things that he listed. So I thought that was cool because I'm like, okay, I don't always have to add weight. I could just, and so like, especially with hip thrusts, I will like do those holds. Like, so I'll be like, I'll count it, I'll hold, and I'll be like 1, 2, 3. Okay. And that's a set. Or sorry, not a set, a rep.
Yeah.
And I do that with every single rep. It destroys me.
Yes.
And I didn't have to add weight at all.
Yeah.
And so,
And
and
sometimes
I
you even have to go down.
Yes, you have to go
Sometimes
down.
you even have to go down.
You have to go
because
down.
You just can't handle it. It's
Yep.
but even like I liked how with the hip thrusts and squats he talked about where your glutes are maximally engaged. And so I realized that's the reason I like doing 1 1/4. So I'll do like 1 rep and then just the top half of a hip thrust. And I really like that format. Or I'll do 10 full and then 10 just a quarter,
I've done
and then
that.
try to go back to the full for like another 5 or another 3 or something like that. And that usually really gets my glutes engaged and I feel every bit of it.
Yeah, I think he calls it like accentuated reps or something like that, where it's like it's like a changing. You don't have to do full range of motion for every single rep. It's specific, different ones depending on where like the load is.
Yeah, because sometimes I find, and this is kind of silly, but if I get to like 15 to 20 reps, I get like bored. Through
I
get bored.
I'm
and
a 12 rep kind of girl.
Me too. 12 to 15.
And he even says that.
Even
That's
10.
like the common rep
golden,
range. Is a golden.
The golden.
Yes.
12.
As soon as it's above that, I'm like, unless I'm training with a trainer, I'm like, am I really going to 20? Probably.
I'm like, if I
don't
can
wanna
go to,
count that
but
high.
if I can go to 20, I'm like, I probably should be doing heavier.
yeah, even when I
do-
have to count, I
I'll
go,
do kickbacks. Kickbacks I do
yes, that's my
15
15.
to 20.
That's my 15.
Mm-hmm.
But even 20, I have to count to 10 and then count down.
Abduction, I'll do 15, 20 maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
abduction you can do a little bit more.
Yeah, but
There's
everything
certain
else, it's like the 8
accessories.
to 12. In my improvement season, it's the 8 to 12 like range. And anything more than that, nope.
Yeah. No, exactly. But it's good that this kind of helped emphasize why too. Because what I also didn't know was I always thought that your glutes were a little bit more engaged overall if it was a shorter range of motion. But he says that there's also a lot with the longer ranges
Lengthening.
of motion too. It just depends on the
stretch.
exercise
Yeah.
too and the stretch. I don't think hip thrusts I really thought of like a shorter, but like kickbacks was a big one for me in terms of a shorter range of motion. Long range of motion, I was thinking maybe good mornings, things like that. But
Lunges.
yeah, lunges,
RDLs.
yes, yeah.
I do a lot of lunges.
And RDLs having a good stretch.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that kind of wraps up parts 1 and 2 and just some of our thoughts on that. And so we're going to continue reading parts 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, this is a
the
big
rest
book.
of this massive textbook.
How many pages?
But I think a lot of it becomes exercise selection stuff. Like there's a lot of pictures of exercises and like how to do the exercise. So
Yeah, maybe we'll go through and pick some of our favorites or ones that we like doing or ones that we learned
pretty cool
about.
because they've got like faults and how to do it. Insufficient hip, extension. Fault is feeling it too much in your quads, and so this is super cool. It's super cool. It's
Yeah, I'm
600
excited
pages, so
to
it's
read.
a little daunting.
Yes.
But-
So we'll break it up a little bit, I
Yes.
think. But I think we'll get back to you guys with another episode and maybe dive into some depth on maybe some more specific
maybe how we've applied
exercises.
stuff, like how
Yeah.
we've applied things to our training.
We
Yeah.
can share our programs too,
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of what we're doing.
Yeah, because I think there's a section on programming
That I'm excited for.
Yes, I'm so excited for that.
and kind of even like how we integrate that with working with our coaches and things like that. So I think that would be kind of cool for next time.
Yeah.
And
Things I would have wanted to know as a first time competitor, because some of the stuff in this book I'm like, I wish I knew.
I
this.
wish I knew. I would probably have
so
a
we can
butt.
start growing glutes from the beginning.
Right?
It took us so many
Oh
years.
my god, all those hours of just like
The 7 years.
Yeah.
let's not count
Okay.
it up again.
Can't do anything about it now.
Right?
Just get better.
Just
You can
gonna
just
get better from here.
Yes.
Yeah, my feedback having fuller glutes, I can always just grow a little bit more. We got this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't let me down, Glute Lab.
Let us know if you have read this book or if you are going to read this book along with us, or if there's something specific that you want to know more about that we mentioned. That way that we can be sure to talk about it when we dive into the next section of this book.
Yes.
And the Bikini Besties are going to keep growing their glutes.
Yes.
Good.
See you guys.
Oh my God.